Welcome to Mr. UFC Vegas Fight Club TV. I am Kyle Anthony, your host. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the bet review show for UFC on ESPN +2, Assuncao versus Moraes. We're going to talk about our best bet play that we had for purchase on Wagertalk. We're also going to talk about our free play and some of the other fights in here. It was an exciting night of fights in Brazil. A lot of big knockouts and big performances, so want to go over and touch on a couple of them. I am back from the casinos. I am back from my 40th birthday party. It was a great time with everybody. Had an amazing time. A lot of drinking going on, but right now we are in recovery mode. I think most people that were there are still in recovery mode, but had a great time there. Won money on some bets, won money on the UFC, won money at the tables, at the craps table. So really, all in all, was hitting pretty much everything on my 40th birthday, which it should be. So good for me, which it should be. So we're going to talk about first is the best bet play. The best bet play was a 68% winner in 2018, and we got back on track here. Ended up getting the victory with Demian Maia to defeat Lyman Good. Now this fight here, getting into some of the things that I thought prior to it, you've got Maia was about a minus 166 favorite going into this fight. And the things that I liked about Maia and the things I didn't like about Good, we're going to touch on in a little bit now. So basically, when you take a look at these two guys, the big thing for me and the big thing that was sticking out when you look at Maia is the fact that he came off 7 straight victories, and then he ran into 3 of the division's best. When you look at, he lost to Woodley in a very boring fight. He lost to Usman in a not very too exciting of a fight. And then he actually had a pretty tough fight against Covington, and that was a fight there that Maia just didn't look good. He landed, out of his 7 straight victories prior to those, he landed 19 takedowns. And then when it came to those 3 fights, he did not land a takedown in those 3 fights. Now, the big takeaway for me going into that has to be the competition level. Now, those 3 guys and the stylistic matchups that they were, those were absolutely horrible matchups for Maia. When you've got 3 guys that have great wrestling, great takedown defense, do have striking. You know, Covington, I think, is a little bit, he's really coming into his own, I think, with some of his striking. But, Usman's got some nice striking. Obviously, Woodley's got great striking. So you've got guys who are wrestlers, have the takedown defense, but can stand and strike knowing that they're going to be better than Maia standing. So they're all of those guys are well versed when it comes to ground game and grappling and getting out of certain positioning. So it was when you took a look, and I rewatched those last 3 fights that Maia had, and really I thought, there were some spots there that yes, he did look boring. I mean, there were some, the Woodley fight is almost hard to even watch because it was so boring. But it doesn't mean that Maia was really tailing off. He just fought 3 of the elite in that division. And the thing was his cardio. People were really worried about that cardio that you've seen in some of those fights. He had some very, very sloppy takedown attempts. Very, very sloppy, very weak. Almost looked like he was out of it. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that where these fights were, how big of important these fights were. But some of those fights, he was striking a lot. Even with Covington, he really was striking a lot. And I think that drained him. I think that took him out of his comfort zone. I think a lot of it had to do with he was looking for a knockout in some of these victories. Or he was looking for, trying to get a little bit more of a different type of finish where he's not doing what he was actually really, really good at, which is he's probably the best in the world when it comes to the ground game. So with all of that being said, and then you take a look at Good, and Good, he's good. He's got a nice record. He's 2-1 in the UFC, but the competition level here was so different. I mean, you've got all the people basically that Good has fought are strikers. He fought very comfortable guys for him, guys that are going to stand toe-to-toe, look for those exchanges, look for the big shots. That was really what, he's a very physically scary looking dude, Good is. I think that he can continually grow within the UFC, but he just has not faced the level of competition that Maia brings and the smartness that comes into the cage where he can bring that experience in and really push the pace of the fight to where he wants it to go when you're talking about Maia. And in this fight, it was the first minute of this fight, Maia gets on his back, and it was almost like a snake coiling around somebody, because he didn't know. He looked like he was lost. He was standing. He didn't even know if he should kind of flip forward and try to kind of land Maia's head, onto the ground, or she go backwards, which obviously is not going to be a good situation either. He was kind of stuck, and that was the point where Good knew he had nothing else left. Tapped out. We get that victory as our best bet play. Nice victory, quick victory. We were all having dinner when that fight was going on, so it was nice to get that victory and then look to move on to our free play that we're going to talk about in a minute. So big win to come out on top. Demian Maia gets back on track. We'll be interested to see who he goes out there, and they're looking to kind of pair him up against. I know they're throwing out some different names, so we'll be interesting to see what he does. He is definitely at the twilight of his career. He's definitely at that point, but I think that you see someone like this, maybe there's some matchups there that are going to make sense for him to try to push forward, but I think he did a great job there. Nice victory as Maia goes in there and gets the submission. Now, the other one we're going to talk about is the free play. The free play was on the main event. It was the under 4.5 rounds, and it was a plus 165, which I thought was just really, really high when it came to both of these guys. We don't have to dive into this one completely. If you really want to take a look at my entire breakdown of the free play, it's on the prediction video. You can take a look at it there, but just to touch on a couple things. This fight, it was being in Brazil, being these two guys have fought each other, being the fact that there's going to be some comfort level there, and knowing that they have an opportunity to go out there and get a title fight with an impressive victory. And what Moraes has done, going out there and knocking out Rivera, knocking out Aljamain Sterling, those were two very impressive knockouts in the first round. And I had said in the prediction video, I said if he can get an early knockout victory, an early impressive win in that first or second or even third round, just a finish, he has really elevated himself and saying, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to have a title opportunity with TJ Dillashaw in the very near future. So this fight, the hooks that he threw were just, he continually, just where he's going, it really just excites me where he can go and the fight that could happen between TJ Dillashaw and Moraes. He goes in with those two beautiful hooks, drops Assuncao, and he was so comfortable enough, he got right on top of him, started grappling, started fighting for positioning, and flipped over a nice guillotine. It was really impressive the way that he's very confident and very comfortable even in those situations. He didn't look, too, obviously he's been there before, but he didn't look like too overwhelmed. He saw the knockdown, he just swarmed him, got on top of him, and he's got that killer instinct, which is something that is really going to be exciting to see if he does fight TJ Dillashaw. But a quick first round finish for Moraes. There's not much to break down in the free play. We got it right. We're able to knock out this one. The 4.5, like I said, seemed way too high. The odds were way off. I thought, getting plus 165 on an under in a title fight, basically a title eliminator, I think it was a little bit off there, but it was perfect spot for us to place our money on, for us to knock that out. So I was able to get that victory there as our free play. I spoke to a bunch of you guys through Twitter, through the comment section on the prediction video. And again, I always like to have conversations with everybody during the events, after the events, always in the comment section. I'm very active, but it was great to see some of you guys had this, tailed it. Some of you guys, took Moraes. So it was great to hear always when people are out there in the comment section, part of this community, going out and cashing some tickets and making some money. So the other one I want to talk about, just very quickly, was I thought it was very impressive what Johnny Walker did against Ledet. This was a fight where, yes, you know what, and we talked about it. I liked Walker. The odds were about minus 190, but Ledet could he bring something to the table? And boy, did Walker come out there, threw a beautiful head kick, then startled him and throws basically like it was basically like a spinning back fist, clocks him. I mean, good thing he didn't hit him when he fell to the ground. He threw a kick, but it's just a great performance for him, and he really starts to build this guy's hype now. He's starting to be a little character in there. He's starting to build himself up, be this goofy guy, but he goes out there and he just keeps dropping people viciously. Very excited to see where he's going to go. Was a victory there for Walker, and I think that's something again that. It was a great card overall, that this was a fight. Hey, could this be a good fight? And seeing some nice knockouts, some tough fights. It was just a really great card overall. And then the last one I want to talk about, which I also did have some exposure on, was on Aldo. And this fight with Mercado, I mean, Aldo looked vintage Aldo. I mean, that was, and we talked about it in the prediction show that, people forget how good that Aldo is. And the fact that he lost to McGregor, he loses to Max Holloway. Losing to Max Holloway twice. Max Holloway is an elite. I mean, and even with McGregor, elite. So I wasn't putting Mercado in that elite category. I think he's a good fighter, but just the way that Aldo went out there and literally picked him apart in Brazil, it was great to see, him jump out in the crowd. I know that there was that old footage of him when he had done it a long time ago. So really great to see him kind of move forward again, keep that, himself relevant within the division, because I think there's a lot of great fights that you can make with Aldo. Now that if he's getting his confidence back after losing to McGregor, it seemed like he may not even fight again. There was talking about he was depressed and all these other things. So for him to really piece some nice wins together and some finishes, I think this really says a lot for him. Wouldn't mind seeing another McGregor-Aldo fight. I think that'd be something that would be interesting if they can put that together. But, I don't know if this Cerrone thing is going to be happening, but I think Aldo-McGregor again would be an exciting fight for everybody to watch and to bet on as well. So, that is the bet review show. Able to cash in on Aldo, able to cash in on Walker, hit and parlayed my free play and my best bet play of Maia and the under in the main event. So really overall, I hit basically every bet that I had. Really great to see, cashing out there, seeing you guys cash some tickets. Bunch of my friends who were actually at dinner, they all were cashing in. So it was a great night overall. I need to get some sleep. I need to get myself back to 100% because, again, there's going to be another card. We're back to back again, pumping these out. UFC 234 we got coming up, so a lot of fights to really break down there. Looking forward, we'll have the prediction show out probably Thursday for this event, and then as always, I'd like to try to get the bet review show out on Monday. So there you have it, guys. Do not forget to follow me at Mr. UFC Vegas on Twitter, and again, subscribe if you have not yet done so. I'm mumbling. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. So that's it. I'm done. This is Mr. UFC Vegas, Fight Club TV, and I'll see you next time.